Once again, guys, I find myself surrounded by PC hardware. Now, while that's, I guess, not an unusual occurrence, today is just a little bit special because we're going to be kicking off a brand new water cooling project, which we haven't done on the channel in quite some time, ever since the tragedy that was Project Baron. This one is going to be using a 9900K, a 2080 Ti, an MSI Godlike motherboard, a Meshify S2, and a whole bunch of other parts that we're going to get into right now. Enermax's brand new Starry Ford offers maximum flexibility and sharp looks with a broad range of hardware support and a price that doesn't break the bank. With 4 pre-installed square RGB fans and an integrated 6-device addressable RGB hub, keeping control of your lighting effects has never been easier. It supports liquid cooling configurations with up to 360mm rads, and if you need even more room inside, the PSU shroud and drive cage are easily removable. Check out the link in the video description to learn more. Unfortunately, yes, like most water cooling projects that you find on YouTube tech channels, this one will be divided up into multiple parts. Today's part 1 is going to involve installing the components into the case, making sure everything works, getting a baseline reading on performance, and then taking everything apart and getting it ready for all the water cooling equipment. Another reason that we have to hold off on just diving right into it is that this build is going to use some specialty components that require some pretty precise measurements. And I can't get the measurements until I have all the components into the case to figure out how much room I have. But I figured while I'm doing that, why not bring you guys along for the ride, talk about these components, and see what they can do on their own without any custom liquid cooled assistance. So let's just quickly run through our parts because I'm pretty sure that you guys are mostly familiar with everything that's already on this table. We've got an i9-9900K, 8 cores, 16 threads. Integrated GPU is going to be pivotal for allowing us to leverage Quick Sync in Adobe Premiere because this is going to be a workstation for me. Also, it's the best gaming CPU on the market. There's really no argument there. We're going to be pairing it with an RTX 2080 Ti. This is the MSI Duke version. I used this in my XOC video, so it actually has the EVGA XC Ultra BIOS loaded onto it with a higher power target. We're not going to revert to the original BIOS because the higher power target allows for better overclocks. And especially if we're going to have this in a custom loop, we're not going to necessarily have to worry about cooling it. So I think that it's just going to be beneficial to keep that XC Ultra BIOS loaded onto it. Right below that, we have the brand new Cooler Master V1300 power supply. This is an 80 plus platinum rated unit, fully modular, just was released by Cooler Master. I actually hope I'm not breaking an embargo by putting it in this video. I have no concerns about this as far as providing enough juice for our system. Right next to it, another brand new component, Corsair's Dominator Platinum RGB DIMMs. This is a 4x8 kit, 3466. I'm really excited to actually get these up and running. I've never seen them outside of the CES showroom, so super pumped to be using these. Our motherboard is the MSI Z390 Godlike. Now, this is one of the most expensive boards on the market for Z390. I think just the Gigabyte Extreme Water Force is more expensive than this. It's got every bell and whistle you could possibly imagine. It's EATX. It has a ridiculous power delivery, and I'm hoping that it's going to allow us to get some serious overclocks out of our 9900K. Right below that, we have the Intel 660p SSD. This is the 2TB version. I will be adding additional storage, but for our initial build, I'm just going to be using this for our operating system. In addition to that, because this is going to be a workstation, I'm going to need a scratch disk, and then it's just going to be hooked up to my storage array for mass storage of video files and stuff like that. If we go one over, we see a whole bunch of Fractal Prisma fans. I did a really quick review of those fans on the channel. They have really good static pressure, they run quiet, and they move a lot of air. So we have 7 total fans. We're going to have 3 on the top, 3 in the front, and 1 in the rear. The one in the rear is going to be 140. All the rest of them are going to be 120s. And they're going to be going in this case. This is the Fractal Meshify S2. You guys may be familiar from the ridiculous ads that we've been running on the channel for this case, but it came out a couple months ago. Haven't had a chance to do a build in it yet, but it is absolutely perfect for custom water-cooled systems. It's got plenty of mounting points for reservoirs and pumps, radiators, and it has a lot of convenience features built in that I'm going to be able to take advantage of. Excellent airflow because of the mesh on the front and the top. All right, I think that's it, actually. I thought there was more. But we're gonna get everything into this case and we're gonna start it running. It's gonna be a sloppy build because it's coming out anyway. But I wanna get a baseline. I wanna see how these things perform, see what kind of temperatures we have, and then we're gonna compare that against our final build.
Check it out, guys. This is how we build computers on this channel. No compromises. Feel like I work for The Verge. So here's our system up and running, guys, and while Windows does its thing and we get everything installed, I just want to pop off this side panel here and talk about one or two things. So first, as you can probably tell, things in here are a disaster. They were not put together with any kind of care, and hey, there I am. Hey. But that's fine. The way things are together right now, it's just meant as a way to do a test boot, to install Windows, to run some baseline numbers for temperatures and performance. And then when it's time, we'll dress everything up all nice and pretty. Right now we're using a Coolmaster 360mm AIO. The RGB effects aren't even plugged in on this, and again, that's fine. The case fans that are in here right now are just the stock Fractal 140mm case fans. So we got two in the front, and then we got one in the rear. It's not going to make a huge difference versus what we're going to have later on, which is going to be 360 rad here with three 120s, because the 120s is going to be, yes, generating more airflow, but driving that air through a radiator, so there's going to be resistance. So to be honest, this might be introducing more cool air than that will. So, you know, this might actually be a better case scenario anyway. In any event, this is just a kind of a stock test setup. The jumble of wires in here, as has been proven on a number of different tests, are not going to impede airflow in any significant way to change any kind of temperatures. Also, look how close the memory gets to the edge of the fans and the radiator right up there. So this is actually kind of good because it allows me to see what kind of spacing we have with a 25mm radiator and 25mm of fans. I think this is 25. It's 25 or 30mm or something like that. But this is approximately what we're going to have when we install our custom loop. It looks like we probably can't go any more than that because of this situation right in there. So that's good to know, because if I had tried to get a thicker radiator going on and had to then swap it out for something else, I would have been pretty pissed. So this is our test setup. Windows is 77% installed right now. So let's get it all the way installed, get some programs up and running, and then we'll be back to talk about temperatures and performance. So here is our jerry-rigged test setup. You could see that we've got the case all buttoned up, so we're not running any kind of open air situation. This is just as it would be under normal circumstances. We've got an overclock applied over here, which we'll talk about in a second, but I have my sound meter going, and our system torture test that I have set up over here has been running for about 14 minutes right now, and here is what the sound meter says. So about 52 decibels, and these fans are really cranked up and running good to keep this system under control thermally, and that's because we've got Unigine Heaven looping in the background at 4K, ultra detail settings, maximum tessellation, and we've got IDA64 Extreme also running, stressing our CPU. So this is basically an absolute worst case scenario. And you can see what our temperatures are like here on the CPU. This is at 5 gigahertz on the 9900K. If I come down here, you can see that we are running 5 gigahertz all cores. And as I slide over, CPU-Z is going to confirm that 5 gigahertz all cores. And then we come down here, we can see the overclock on the GPU. That's plus 125 on the core, plus 1000 on the memory, maxing out the power and temperature sliders. And we're running about 70, let's call it 75C on average, I guess. If you look at this line, there are a few dips, but generally it's going to stay between, I don't know, 71 and 75C, just looping this over and over. And these are the overclocks that I think that I'm probably going to start with when the system is together, and we'll probably work from there. But this is a good baseline. These are numbers that we're pretty sure we could achieve if under any kind of reasonable circumstances with this hardware. So I think this is a good place to start. And these are some decent temperature readings that we can work off of to see how much we've improved once we got the entire custom loop assembled. First test, Far Cry 5 on high, 4K. Result is 93 FPS average. Next up is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is 4K Ultra, 59 frames per second average. Third test is Firestrike Ultra with a score of 9352, graphics score of 9203, and a physics score of 26,324. Last one for this really brief round of testing, Metro Exodus. We ran it at 4K, DX12, ultra quality, no RTX on this run, so no ray tracing, but still a very challenging benchmark, and we had an average frame rate of 57.54. So now that we have our very ugly system built and tested, we know a couple of things. We have a baseline on acoustics, on thermals, and on performance. We know that everything in here works, which is pretty important before we go diving into custom loop territory. And we know that everything in here fits. And we know how much room in general we're gonna have for those specialty items that I talked about earlier. The next part of the process is going to be to completely disassemble this box right here, get all of the components prepped and ready to receive water blocks, and try to figure out how I want to run this loop, which is what you're going to see over the next couple of videos. When we're all done, we're going to retest. We're going to see if thermals have improved, if acoustics have improved, and if performance has improved. So make sure you guys get subscribed to the channel if you guys don't want to miss that. Also, check out the links down below if you want to become a patron, or check out the merchandise store to help support the channel directly. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys are looking forward to this build as much as I am. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you next time.